Hi everyone, this is Mahir. I'm getting really bored being in the house for more than a month now. So I've decided to do some labs and I decided to record them so that if anybody wants to see, if wants to learn, they can learn. So as everybody, most of the people who knows me know that I'm preparing for CCIE. So I will be doing some labs which uh, for the technologies which were going to be uh, tested on the test. So what I'm going to do is I will start with DMVPN and then from there we will move forward. So this first lab which I'm going to do is the lab for DMVPN phase 1 with static mapping. So for that let me write it down. So this is lab 1 and in this lab I will be doing DMVPN phase 1 with static mapping. So that is the objective of this lab. Okay, in future we'll do more labs. Whatever lab I will be doing, I will be um, making sure that I will keep the name at the top so that when you watch this video, when I don't know when you're gonna watch it, whenever you're gonna watch these videos, you will know exactly what lab we are going to or we are performing. So this is going to change so often on my video, but my topology might remain the same. So let's build the topology. For this one, I'm going to create uh, 4 routers. I can do this with 3 as well, but let's create four routers with 1 internet, so 5 routers and nothing else. And I will define everything here in a moment. So I don't need anything else, so let's do this. So in this scenario, router 1 will be my hub, router 2, 3 and 4 will be the spokes, and router 5 will be the ISP, mimicking the ISP, right, in this way. So router 1 goes to router 5. Connectivity is very basic, very simple. I'm gonna do as fast as I could the lab, so keep these videos as short as I can so that this will be fun to watch and not boring. So as you can see that right now I am just connecting my physical setups. So my physical setup is done. As you can see, the physical setup is done. So let's start all these devices. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do some base config. Most of you may already know what the base config is, right? It's like no timestamps, line console settings, line VTY settings, and the host name for all the devices. So what I will do is that I will click them all. I will say console to selected nodes. I have to grab my nodes there. Let's see. So let's grab it here so that you guys can see what I'm doing, right? So all sessions, press enter. Let's see. Here we go. So I will say no to all. Perfect. So later, if I need, right? If I need to, what I will do is that I will save my configuration on each step so that later on if I want to erase everything, I don't have to do this setup, this base config or some IP config. So I will say I'm using, as most of you know, that I'm using EVNG Pro. So I'm gonna save my config on a step-by-step basis. So let's say I have done this base config, right? So with this base config, you can see that I have done IP domain lookup, no service timestamp, some logging consoles settings, like I want to have synchronization, I do not want it to be timeout, I want it to be in admin mode, I want the same for line VTY04. I want transport input telnet and output telnet as both, and the host name. So very basic stuff. I'm gonna do the write on all of them, and then I'm gonna export this. Export all config, right? So I'm gonna export all the configs. So now this config exported. I will go to startup configs, and I will use this default one, and let's go back. I will do one more thing. Set node startup to default config set. Okay. So now if I go to more startup configs, I should have. I still didn't have that. Okay. So the default is not coming up. So no problem. So let's say I create a set called base config. Okay. I add that. I select that, and then I already written them, so I'm gonna export one more time. Export all configs. This is starting. It's not yet done, right? So let's see if this is happening. It says success. As per this, it says success, right? So we can see whether it's been exported. So let's see. Lab has been saved. Network has been added to the lab. Network has been added to the lab. Start all is started. Export selected is starting. Start all done. So I don't see that the export has happened, right? So let's do one more time. I don't know. Let's see. Export is started, but it's not completing. Maybe it's my fault. Maybe it's I need to restart my system because it's on for a long time. You see, it's not happening. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna stop it, and I am going to restart my VM. So I will do root eve and reboot. So let's reboot it. So it's not working as it should be. So let's see if that works. So I've just restarted my machine, so these should be disconnected, so I can close these. The connection time not, but because my VM is booting right now. Sorry about that, guys, because I haven't checked my lab, because I was working on some other labs, some huge labs, and they were on for like a week. So let's see if that works. So the machine has been booted, so let's see if it works. Okay, we're going in. Let's see, stop. So it's already stopped, so let's start all nodes. Let's see. So see, start all works. So start all works. This is starting. Start all done. So this is all started. So let's grab it. Let's open the console. There you go. So the console is up. Let's see what's gonna happen. Fourth router should be here. Oops. Let's see, router 1. Let's press enter. So although it's saved, right? So the base config is saved. So let's go to more action. Let's export all config, and now it worked. See, so that was the issue. So now if I go to my startup config, I can see that they have the base config where their router name is set, right? Router name is set, and so on and so forth. I have base config here, and in the base config is the same thing, right? So that is fine. So now I'm gonna put another name, which will be IP addressing and base route, and I will say default route, D route, just the name, right? So I'm gonna do the IP addressing and default route. I will set it like this, and then we will do the IP addressing. So for IP addressing, let's define that. So public link, right, which is Ethernet 0 on all the devices. The public link will be, let me put it in text here. So I would say public IP, right? And I would do it bold, and this will remain the same as long as we are doing this lab, right? So this is 20. So public IP is 192.1.xy.x, right? And x is equals to client router number, and y is equals to ISP router number, right? So I am writing this right in front so that everybody is aware of that what we are doing right here. So now we know that public IP is 192.1xy.x, where client router number, x is a client router number and y is the ISP router number. And I should say here x or y. So if it's a client side, it will be x value. If it's a ISP side, it will be y value. In our case, ISP router is router number 5. And let me do one more thing. Let me duplicate this, and let me say that we should, because we are doing DMVPN, so we will have tunnel IP. Tunnel IP will be, let's say, 10.1.123, or we can say 10.1.234.0/24. This will be /24. There will be no y. So this will be our tunnel IP, where x is the client router number. How's that? So this will be the lab setup we're gonna do. Okay, so now let's set up the IP addressing. So first we start with router 5, and then we can close router 5, because once router 5 is done, we are not going to change it. So there's nothing on router 5 needs to be done. So let's do that. So we are starting with Ethernet 0 by 0. We will say IP address 192.115.5. No shut. Ethernet 0 by 1. This will be 25. Then Ethernet 0 by 2. This will be 35. No shut. And then 0 by 3. This will be 45. So this is saved. So we don't need to do anything on router 5, so we can close it. Right, and then we'll move on to our main routers. So router 1, IP addressing, we will set the IP addressing here, Ethernet 0 by 0, IP address 192.115.1, 255.255.255.0, no shut, IP route, all zeros going towards 192.115.5. So that's my IP addressing for this one. Let's go to router number 2. Let's set it up. IP address 192.1.25.2.255.255.0, no shut, IP route 192.125.5. Let's move to router 3. IP address 192.135.5. IP route 192.135.5. Hmm. Oh, I put a wrong IP address there, so let's fix that. This is 35.3 and this is 35.5. So that moves to router 4, config T, interface Ethernet 0 by 0, IP address 192.145.4, 255.255.255.0, no shut, IP route 000.000, 192.145.5. So if everything is fine, I should be able to ping 15.1, which is my hub router, or in other case I should be able to ping 25.2 or 35.3, right? So it means every of my IP addressing is fine. I have saved every router. I'm gonna export it. So I will go to more action and I will say export all config. So now if I go to the startup config, once it's done, now you will see that my IP addressing has the IP addresses and the default route set, right? So this is the benefit of using the pro version. If I go to my base config and look, this one doesn't have my IP address, right? So no IP address, nothing. So that is the good thing about it. So now what I will do is that I will say I will create one more set and I will say phase 1 is static mapping, and once we are done with this, I will save it so that later on if we need, we will have this config set ready for us if you want to see something, if you want to do something else on this occasion, right? So as discussed, the idea is to have the tunnel setup with the multi-point GRE and the point-to-point GRE. So in phase 1, what happens is that the hub router will be a point-to-point GRE, and the spoke router will be a multi-point GRE. So let's configure router number 1, which is our hub router with a multi-point GRE. So let's create the tunnel. So we'll say interface tunnel 1, IP address 10.1.234.1, 255.255.255.0, and then I will say tunnel source is Ethernet 0 by 0, and tunnel mode is GRE multipoint, right? And then we will define the NHRP. So we'll say IP NHRP network ID is 111 and IP NHRP map, because this is static, so we have to map it. So 10.1.234.2 is mapped to 192.125.2. In the same way, 3 is mapped to 35.3 and 4 is mapped to 45.4, right? So by doing this, now if I look at show IP NHRP, I have 3 static entries which will never expire in my tunnel, which will never expire, right? And they are pointing towards their corresponding routers. Now on router 2, or in fact on all other routers, we will have almost a similar kind of setup. So we should have used the notepad, but for the sake of this video I'm not going to use the notepad. I'm going to do it. So 10.1.234.2, 255.255.255.0, and then tunnel source remains the same, Ethernet 0 by 0, and tunnel this one, because this is point to point, so we have to define tunnel destination, which will be the public IP address of router 1, 192.1.15.1, right? We will do NHRP network ID, define the network ID of 222. This doesn't need to match, and then IP NHRP map command for the hub router, which is 10.1.234.1, 192.1 what was that, 20.15.1, right? So now if I look at the tunnel interface here, you can see that this is the base config. Beside the IP address, everything and network ID, everything will remain the same on all other routers. So if I go to thread router, do the same. Just give me a second, guys. So third router, do the same IP address 10.1.234.3.255.255.255.0, and then tunnel source Ethernet 0 by 0. Tunnel destination is 192.115.1, and then IP NHRP network ID is 33. Then IP NHRP map is 10.1.234.1, 192.115.1. So did I save 2? Yes. Did I save 1? No. Let's save it because we're gonna use that. Let's do on router 4, 10.1.234.4, 255.255.255.0. Tunnel source Ethernet 0 by 0. Tunnel destination is 192.1.15.1, and then IP NHRP network ID is 444. IP NHRP map 10.1.234.4, 255.255.255.0. What am I doing? This is 192.115.1. There we go. So now with this basic config, if I ping a 192, sorry, not 192, 10.1.234.1, I should be able to ping it, right? Why? Because I should have my mapping, which is a static mapping. If I want to ping 10.1.234.2, I should be able to ping it. 3, I should be able to ping it. The question is when I trace route it, any of that. So if I do 1, it will go to 1, directly to 1. If I do 2, it will go to 1 and then 2. If I do 3, it will go 1 and then to 3, and it will always be like this. So that is the static mapping, right? Very simple, very basic. We can ping, we can trace, we can see that the trace will always go via the hub. So in the next lab, which is lab number 2, we will be doing phase 1 with the dynamic mapping. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.